afternoon, Session Chair Nasser, Co-Chair Sri Pankaj Kumar Sir, my fellow speakers on the panel, colleagues and friends from the industry joining online, ladies and gentlemen. I thought my part of the presentation would be cancelled because we are already way behind schedule. So what I'll try to do is try to go as quick as possible with the slides that I have, which I want to share with everyone. The topic is growth potential from mature fields, and we have been talking about Western offshore growth potential from new energy. So this is a specific topic which we are going to talk about today, and the presentation content is outlined as such. So let's see how we can define a mature field. Now, an oil field can be considered mature when its production rate has significantly declined, or when it is close to reaching its economic limit. Now, maturity will mean both in terms of surface as well as surface setup. So I tried to, Google whether there is a fixed definition for defining a mature field, and I was quite surprised that many people define mature fields differently. For example, Halliburton defines a mature field as one where production has reached its peak and has started to decline. Total considers a field to be mature when the cumulative production has reached about 50% of the 2P established reserves, initial established reserves. And they also consider that surface facilities, if they are more than 10 years old, then that field is also considered to be mature. So whatever be the case, I think a mature field will be the one where its production rate has significantly declined over its peak production values. So the best place to search for oil or to get more oil is, I think, is try to produce the fields as economically possible as feasible. So the decline of an asset's production curve is inevitable, but the challenge here is a more strategic approach to life cycle management, which can slow down the process of aging and also shift the profitability decline. So there are various key challenges and issues here which we deal on an everyday basis with mature fields, and these are some of the outlined bullet points which I would not like to go through in detail because we'll be talking about them in the subsequent slides. So the ultimate aim, of course, is to recover more oil in a cost-effective way. So if we look at the trend over the past few decades, we can see how the growth of world crude oil reserves have changed significantly and coming down on the numbers. If you see the one here on the left side. And the right side basically shows the BP statistical reviews production and consumption patterns by region. And very interesting to see here that if you see the yellow one here, Asia Pacific production is relatively insignificant compared to the consumption levels for that particular region. So there's a big production consumption difference, specifically with reference to a country like India. And then coming down to the key factor here is that overall, if we look worldwide, there is a decreasing discovery trend, insufficient production, consumption is increasing, and therefore exploration costs are increasing because most of the easy oil have been discovered so far. And worldwide, there is a thrust to maximize recovery from established reserves. So my company, Oil India Limited, is no different. We have been producing oil since 1889 from Dikoi, when the first commercial discovery in Asia took place. Post-independence, the first discovery in India was in the Harkatia field in 1953. So we are talking about managing assets which are as old as 70 years old, if we count post-independence. And therefore, around 75% of our current production is from matured fields, which were discovered more than 20 years back. And this is very similar to the numbers of the world production coming from mature fields, where 60% of the world production comes from mature fields that are more than 20 years old. So I want to give a brief glimpse of our production trend over the years. As I mentioned, our first discovery post-independence was 1953 in Naharkatia, and we discovered a field called Moran in 1956. So over the years, this field produced and reached a peak production value of close to about 3.2, 3.3 million tons per annum. That is the unit that we are using here. Achieved a plateau of 3 million tons for almost a decade. And then obviously, as with any field's production behavior, the Naharkatia and Moran fields also started declining. And they are declining. They have declined to such an extent that it's still producing. But the challenge for us is to still maintain this level of production from these fields, from Naharkatia and Moran. But as Dr. Reddy also previously mentioned, that exploration has to go on. So apart from these two fields, in the 70s we discovered Jorajan field. Ma'am, please let me know if the slides are not moving. Otherwise, it would not be easy to visualize this. So Jorajan came on stream, and that helped us to maintain our level of 3 million tons for the next few years. And then afterwards, natural decline has set in, as observed here for this field as well. And then came the other Eocene fields. Now, when I say these other non-Eocene fields, these are the fields which are or were producing primarily from reservoirs up to a depth of about 3,000 to 3,500 meters. So that was the reservoir depth from which we were exploiting this oil. And then this helped us to again sustain our levels of production. And you can see there is a very, very positive and nice increase in production levels here during 2010 onwards. Now, this is the time when we made extensive use of horizontal drilling technology in this particular field to enhance our production levels significantly. It's a quantum jump. And right now we have almost completed about 30 horizontal wells in this reservoir, and you can see that this has helped us to increase our production levels. The other thing which has really added a very good piece of news for every one of us here was in the 90s, when people talk about technology adoption, people talk about fit-for-purpose technology. So this has been implemented by Oil India since the early discovery of its fields, because as many of you know, Oil India was earlier a private company, was a company called Assam Oil Company prior to independence. It was only in 1959 that the government of India came in with 1/3 participation, and only after 1981 Oil India became nationalized as a 100% public sector undertaking. So technology induction has been at the forte of the company's business. And during the 80s, the two very significant things happened. Seismic technology improved leaps and bounds. We could now go and better image deeper reservoirs. So these fields which we were producing around less than 3,500 meters, we could now image deeper reservoirs beyond 3,500 meters. Logging techniques, well logging techniques improved significantly. We could now resolve thinner beds. So conventional 20, 50 meter reservoirs were producing from these reservoirs. And then post 90s, we could resolve thinner beds where we could even resolve 1 meter thick sand reservoirs. And that's the reason why there is this jump, which really brought us back to our more than our earlier peak levels. And it's a mix of mix of everything, including new technology, including sound reservoir management practices, actually, which has really helped us to maintain these levels of production. We are still producing about 3.2 million tons per annum that rate, producing about 7.5 million standard cubic meters of gas, considering that we are dealing with 70-year-old fields. So I think sustaining these levels itself is very good news when it comes to managing mature fields. So there are some there are some various other technologies that we have been adopting on a reservoir to reservoir basis based on their individual merits. Some very, as I mentioned, horizontal drilling was one, but then there's another technology called radial drilling where we have implemented in almost 16, 17 of our wells. And we have implemented this up to 3,200 meters, but now with advent of better technology, we plan to go deeper. And this has really helped us to improve on production. So this radial drilling is basically you re-enter an existing well without having to do much expenditure in terms of capex or in terms of opex as well. So it's a very, very cost-effective solution. Then hydraulic fracture has been implemented in various fields and reservoirs, and potential gain has been significant from this. Chemical water shutoff. Now, when you talk of water shutoff, people generally will think that how are we getting oil out of this? Well, the problem is we have various restrictions in our surface handling facilities in most of the reservoirs. So if I'm able to produce, if I'm producing 5 tons of oil from a well, I may be producing 150 or 200 kiloliters of water as well. So when the capacity of the installation is limited to 1,000 or 1,500 kiloliters, it becomes very difficult for me to handle that huge amount of water or total fluid. And therefore, if significant water can be shut off, my 5-ton production from the well keeps coming. So if I have 50 wells and everybody is producing 5 tons, that's almost 250 tons coming. So these are significant benefits when it comes to field implementation. The other thing is we have, of course, been doing extensive reservoir modeling studies. So it's very important to have a proper understanding of the geology of the area of the individual reservoirs and map them properly, and then use dynamic reservoir simulation studies so that you can always come up with a firm field development plan, because you get a chance to produce a field only once, but in the computer or in the workstation you can work out various realizations which can give you better ultimate oil, or whether it can give you a better net present value or internal rate of return. So these studies have helped a lot because we have huge amount of data available with us. As I said, 70 years, almost 70 years of data. And there are very, very pleasant surprises, good surprises that we have been coming along the way. I just wanted to share this particular piece of news as well, which just happened last couple of weeks. We went to Naharkatia, as I said, discovered in 1953, and based on the modeling study, we saw some bypass oil there. Went and drilled the well, and it came on stream at 34 cubic meters per day. The last commercial success in this reservoir was 1977, and there was only one well producing from this reservoir. So this type of pleasant surprises have been coming, which have been actually rejuvenating these fields and reservoirs as we see them today with their performance. And then, of course, this artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, they also deserve honorary mention, because the whole concept or the philosophy of AI ML is to work on big data, huge volume of data, and that is where we are blessed that we have quite significant amount of data with us. So we are taking this forward. We are already going ahead with a study in one of our best reservoirs. Actually, we are also taking one of our best reservoirs to see the results of this study using artificial intelligence and machine learning, because I think this is the future for any modeling study. And then, of course, when we come to managing mature assets, there is a term called low salinity water injection. So water injection itself is a very good, effective strategy to sweep out remaining oil and produce as much oil as possible. Now, people may use seawater, or they may use produced water. But what we have been doing in Assam is we are blessed with a lot of water in this region. So we use fresh, low saline water to inject, and this works as an enhanced oil recovery process. So what it gives advantage is that it tries to reduce the residual oil saturation left in the reservoir, and thereby improve your recovery factor, apart from providing a better sweep. So we initiated this as early as 1966, and in that particular reservoir, recovery factors have already exceeded about 40%. And then now almost 40% of our reservoirs have been subjected to this low salinity water injection. And currently we are injecting close to about 5,500 cubic meters a day. And in terms of numbers, if you just want to have a feel of the numbers, about 20 million kiloliters, I think, have been recovered additionally as of date by deploying this particular technique. Recovery factors have improved significantly from 10 to 15% in majority of the reservoirs, and this actually contributes to almost 5% of our total production at the moment. And the other EUR methods that we have adopted, I think we were the pioneer actually in India to implement polymer flooding way back in 1975 in one of our reservoirs. That reservoir is still producing actually about 40. The current recovery factor of the reservoir is about 47%, and that reservoir is actually still producing. Apart from the enhanced oil recovery processes like polymer, we have also implemented microbial enhanced oil recovery using microbes to produce additional oil from individual reservoirs, from individual wells. Actually, this is on a well-to-well basis. And then some small amount of condensate flooding, continuous steam injection, and alkaline flooding has also been tried out in Digboy field. As I mentioned, this was discovered in 1889, and we are still again producing from this field. This field is a living museum actually. Everyone working in the oil and gas industry should pay a visit to this place one day. They also have a beautiful museum, and the well number 1 is still there, very much intact. And so these are the current projects that we have on our hands immediately, which we are planning to field implement within a year or two. We are again going back to polymer flood in one of our reservoirs in Narkatia. And CO2, we have been hearing a lot about this since morning. So we are examining CO2 as an option to use as an enhanced oil recovery process. So we have actually tried to map all the CO2 sources in and around our fields in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, and we have identified some sources. And we have also parallelly identified some reservoirs where this can be implemented. And this is going to also come up very soon. The only thing is that we will have to significantly change our surface facility setup, because the legacy wells, they are not tuned to be completed as CO2 injectors. So CO2 has a lot of, everyone knows, corrosive effects. So those have to be actually analyzed in detail. But apart from CO2 flooding as a EUR process, we are also trying to examine if we can have some of our old abandoned reservoirs, depleted reservoirs, which can be used for storage. So if there are a lot of CO2 sources available, and if our partners or our industry friends desire, maybe we can utilize a few of our reservoirs or a couple of reservoirs for storage, so for permanent sequestration. That also we are going to actually work in detail to identify proper candidate reservoirs, because we want to have a complete foolproof seal of the reservoir so that the CO2 doesn't get produced. This is a novel EUR project we are working on, carbonate water injection. So this is basically using CO2. Sometimes in many areas we don't have sufficient amount of CO2 available in the market or available from the industry. So significant, very small amounts of CO2, like 8 to 10% mixed with water, can also significantly aid in increasing the recovery factor by providing a better sweep and producing more oil. So this novel technique we are going to implement in one of our fields. We are already making arrangements for the initial water injection, and once the CO2 source is again finalized, this is where we are going to take it forward. This is going to be a one-of-a-kind project, the carbonate water injection project. And so apart from improved oil recovery, enhanced oil recovery processes in mature fields, there are many other ways by which we have in mature fields, like the ones we have in Assam specifically. There are many other areas from which we are trying to infuse a new lease of life into the wells and the reservoirs. And one is trying to identify miss zones, or where have we missed out, where we earlier thought there was no oil or gas, but maybe now there is. Now, of course, with modern mapping technologies and modern petrophysical tools, this is possible. Low resistance space sands, which were earlier inspected or which were earlier considered to be devoid of hydrocarbons, have proved otherwise. So we have had significant breakthroughs in revisiting our old wells, revisiting our old petrophysical analysis to identify areas from which we have now produced additional oil and gas. 4D seismic, of course, in mature fields, this doesn't need to be mentioned, that this has huge potential for effective reservoir management. The only challenge we have in Assam, specifically in Assam, in this area, is we are working onshore. So the acquisition of the seismic, the various parameters that have been utilized in the earlier campaign have to be very similar in the new campaign as well. So there are challenges there because land problems are there. There is encroachment. Our wells, our fields get encroached, and then it becomes very difficult. But this is a significant tool. We have implemented this, but we have not been able to go in a very, very big scale because of logistical reasons. And then, of course, even in mature fields, Dr. Reddy was very emphatic about it. There is huge potential for exploration as well. Exploration as well as re-exploration. Because if you can see this map here on the right, you will see that this is the river Brahmaputra. So we have had a lot of flack from environmentalists to explore in the river Brahmaputra because they were saying that you cannot shoot seismic and all. So we brought in this technology of airborne gradiometry and gravity magnetic surveys to work to survey this part of the area. And also there is an area here which is the Dibru-Saikwa National Park. So this is a wildlife sanctuary, and it's a national park, so you cannot do anything there. So we have done this AGG and gravity magnetic survey in this area as well, and also in the logistically difficult thrust belt area where it's very difficult to physically go and work. So even within our matured fields, areas of operation, there are areas where there is plenty of scope for further exploration and re-exploration. And this data we have actually acquired through an aeroplane. Okay, so this is going to help us understand our areas, especially the OLP areas, a lot. And other technology that we have also implemented in our mature fields where we have not yet been able to access is passive seismic tomography, PST. So this is the area here in Arunachal. This is called Pasighat. We are taking some PST data here, and even in the Jorajan area, this area. So this measures the natural seismicity of the subsurface. So you don't need to go in with geophones and record data. The natural, because this area where we operate is one of the tectonically one of the highest, one of the most active regions. There are quakes happening every day almost, and there are small quakes happening, I think, every hour. We don't feel it. We only feel it when we get a big jerk, right? So these are new technologies that have also been implemented in mature fields from an exploration or re-exploration point of view. I think I have overshot my time as well to present whatever I had to, and these are basically some of the conclusions which we have already discussed about. What I wanted to really put forward is that a 1% improvement in recovery factor for us here in Oil India would be equivalent to 58 million barrels. Now, this is almost 3 years of company's production, and this is almost like equivalent to finding a huge mega big field like Naharkatia. And so the growth potential is there in mature fields quite significantly. And of course, aging fields with new technology can definitely be the source of new oil for new Oil India, maybe. So, sirs, ma'am, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry if I overshot my time as well, but I tried to do within my time frame. Thank you very much for your attention and for the invitation, for inviting me to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.